It's hard to pinpoint when things started to get strange in the house. It was an old farmhouse that my boyfriend and I had rented for about 3 months. The walls were thick with history. Not that we knew it at the time. We didn't do any research on the home, but if we had, maybe we would have reconsidered renting it. Maybe this would have made the hairs on the back of our necks stand up. The first night we spent there was fine, or so I thought. But he woke up in the middle of the night and told me he had a strange feeling like someone was watching us. He said he could feel eyes on him and he was too scared to go back to sleep. I must have drifted off because the next thing I knew, he was shaking me awake in the middle of the night. "I think there's someone here," he whispered, his eyes wide with terror. Of course, I thought he was joking around. There was no way someone had snuck into our home in the middle of the night. And even if they did, why would they be staring at us while we slept? Either way, he went back to bed and fell silent. So I assumed he was asleep again. But then the whispers started. Right. They sounded like they were coming from the closet right next to our bed. At first it was difficult to make out what the whispers were saying. All I could hear was, "Get out, get out, get out." Then I started to understand the words. "Get out, you're not welcome here," the whispering voice continued. My boyfriend and I stared at each other, both of us too frightened to say a word. Finally, the whispers faded away and we heard nothing else that night. In the morning after, of course not sleeping at all, we decided to pretend like nothing had happened the night before. But as the day wore on, strange things began to happen. First, objects started flying across the room. We weren't doing anything particularly strenuous. And yet the antique dresser suddenly flew open and dishes started clattering to the floor. I tried to convince myself that it was just the settling of an old house, but the activity only intensified. One evening, we were having dinner in near silence. We didn't speak much to each other, because we were both still on edge after the events of the previous night. Suddenly, a rocking chair in the corner of the room began to rock. It was an old wooden chair that had been in the house when we moved in. It hadn't moved from the corner where we had placed it. Now it was moving on its own, back and forth, faster and faster. Then it stopped abruptly. As we watched in disbelief, the rocking chair began to move toward us. It stopped a few feet away, and that's when I noticed something strange. There was no one sitting in the chair. I can't explain the fear that gripped me at that moment. It wasn't just the chair moving on its own. It was the idea that there was something sinister living in our home that was orchestrating all of these events. Now terrified, we bolted out of the house and didn't return for 2 days. But when we came back, the chair was still in the same position, still a few feet away from where we had been sitting. We decided to leave the house again. This time we went to a hotel for the night. But all that night I could think about was the chair and what had caused it to move. When we returned the following day, we found scratches on the floorboards where the chair had been. As if that wasn't bad enough, we also found this strange symbol carved into the floor. I have no idea what it means, but I knew that I didn't want to stay in that house another minute. We packed our things and left immediately. Not long after we moved out, we learned the history of the home. In the 1940s, a family had lived there. The husband had been abusive and violent toward his wife. One night, he had beaten her so badly she had died. When the police investigated, they found out that he had killed her and buried her in the backyard. Could this be the reason why we were being tormented in the house? Did the woman's spirit want us to find her body and give her a proper burial? Or was something more evil haunting us? We never went back to that house, not even to check if the landlord had found the woman's remains. Couldn't bear the thought of stepping foot inside that home ever again. My boyfriend and I broke up shortly after that. I think he was too scared to date anyone after our encounter with whatever was haunting that house. I can't say I blame him. Still get shivers down my spine whenever I think about the events that took place in that house. There are some places that are best left undisturbed. We learned that lesson the hard way. If you ask me, that house is cursed. It will drive a wedge between everyone who lives there. It doesn't matter if you're a couple or a family. You won't be able to resist the darkness that eventually consumes you. Preys on your relationships, causing fights and arguments until you break apart. Once you're gone, whatever lurks in that home is free to roam once again. We should have known better than to ignore the warning signs. I remember seeing a dark shadow figure standing in the corner of my eye every now and then. I didn't think much of it at the time. I assumed that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But maybe it was trying to warn me. After all, hindsight is 20/20. The scariest part of it all was the fact that we couldn't see it. Whatever was haunting us was invisible. All we had were the subtle clues that something was there. The scratching in the walls, the whisperings at night, the sudden movements of objects. These are all things that can easily be dismissed as normal house noises. But put them all together, and you have a terrifying experience. If you ever rent a new home, pay attention to the details, because sometimes the smallest things can indicate the presence of something sinister. I know this sounds cliché, but I wish we had heeded the warnings. We could have saved ourselves from so much pain and suffering. Now, however, I am glad that we got out of that house when we did. Who knows what would have happened if we had stayed? It may sound crazy, but I truly believe that the house was trying to get rid of us. It was sending us signs that we needed to leave, that we were not welcome there. Perhaps it wanted us to find the woman's body and give her the respect she deserved. But whatever its intentions were, we got the message loud and clear. Since leaving that house, I have had many experiences with ghosts, but none of them have ever been like this. There was something incredibly sinister about the aura of that house, like a black cloud hanging over it. It's a feeling that has stuck with me to this very day. I always try to be rational and logical when it comes to paranormal activity. I try to find a reasonable explanation for everything. But with this haunting, I am stumped. There is no logical explanation for what we experienced, and that is what makes it so terrifying. My advice to anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation is to get out as fast as possible. Don't try to fight it or reason with it. Just get out. Take your loved ones with you and don't look back. Trust me, it is not worth staying. As for the house itself, I have no idea what became of it. I hope that whoever is living there now is happy and that they have experienced what we went through. But something tells me that the house will continue to be haunted forever. Now, I am curious to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced anything similar? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe.
Thanks for watching.